All right, so that, ladies and gentlemen, wraps up the J6K1. Now we move on to the aircraft that, oddly enough, Corvus mentioned. This is a not German strictly. It was designed for the Luftwaffe during the war. However, it was Czech engineered and built. The Skoda SK257 V5. And Corvus, I know when you first learned about this, you had a cow over it.
Oh yeah, no, I wanted this is it's right up there with the Westland Whirlwind. Okay, we're not talking about the Whirlwind in this particular video, but that's always been a top of my list as a desirable heavy fighter. This one I saw it and I said, we need this in the game. This one needs to be in the game. And then you pointed out something interesting, that Skoda is a manufacturer that's represented in tanks and warships.
Exactly.
Well, if you put a Skoda in World of Warplanes, that means Skoda is across all three titles.
Exactly.
So there's a draw right there for Wargaming to put this guy in the game.
Absolutely. Now, yes, it is a now the other way you can spin this, add a further selling point, you could either make this a German premium plane or a Czech premium plane, whichever one's easier. You could do it that way. The Czechs are already in the game at low tiers, so it's not like you can't go either way.
Right. And so you can let's say call it one of the European line. So if ever a tech tree came, this is another one of those examples of having a premium plane turn into a tech tree plane. So it's completely possible to run this guys as a premium, pay the money and pay the gold and transfer it to some other nationality, or make it part of the tech tree. Uh-oh, that's somebody's ringing the doorbell. That's funny.
Anyway.
So yeah, it's the plane. When I saw it, and the model is absolutely beautiful, and it's a light fighter, yes, but I thought, man, that thing looks so good, and the armament loadout is something that we're used to. Those of us who fly heavy fighters, right? That 4 times
the 420
MK108 30s. That's the. Oops, sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. It's 420 millimeter.
It's 420s
on the
right.
SK257. So
right.
It would be kind of, again, it's this weird cross between, I'd say, a TA152 that's specialized and an ME209A that is specialized, because the A does have two 20 millimeter cannons, but also a 30. So
right.
You're here with a Skoda aircraft that has 420s, and there are some people that are like, oh, if only you could have the TA-152 with the 20mm cannons instead of these wonky 30mm guns.
I'm right there with you. That's one of my criticisms of wargaming is, hey, I want to load out my guns the way I want to load them out. In other words, just like in 1.x, right? You could pick your gun loadout for your plane, and in fact, I had several loadouts you could pick. And hey, if you want to make the plane a little bit slower and not as turny, cool, add more guns. You want to make it a little more turny, take some guns away. And I thought that was a great thing. But instead of making it that flexible, how about just one of the loadouts that you have when the plane is not yet specialized? That's what I'd love to have. That's an aside, but and doesn't really fit in here. But
It's
that's
fair, but again,
it's a gripe.
Having this aircraft will basically delete this issue from the TA-152 because, hey, if you don't like the TA-152, here's the Skoda T-257 that's right here.
Right, and the performance of the aircraft would fit in. It would fit in between the probably the TA-152 and I kind of was thinking that it should end up somewhere in the realm of the XF-15C. Maybe more turny and not as fast.
That is also true.
And that's one that I would. That's a plane that's a plane that I actually have to concentrate when I fly it, so I won't pick it for this particular
absolutely.
flight.
Now, another thing I want to point out: there are two things unique that I want to say two things that are unique. One thing that's unique about the 257, and another thing that's that gives it parity with the TA-152. So, in known record, the projected maximum speed for the SK257 was about 765 kilometers an hour. The boost speed for the TA-152 is 785.
Gotcha.
So there's some real close parity there. So in trade for being a little bit turnier than the TA-152, it could be that boost speed could be a little bit lower.
Right.
And,
yes.
Of course, the maximum dive speed, the TA-152 has 900. The SK257, maybe, I don't know, 875, 850, somewhere around there. But
sure.
The main thing that's unique about the SK257 V5 is that it had a internal structure that grabbed the interest of the Luftwaffe. And that was the... excuse me if I butcher this pronunciation. The Skoda Kauba Bandweis tubular spar structure. So, what this comprised of was normal ribs built upon a singular tubular spar, which stretched from the wingtip to the wingtip. So basically, imagine... you've seen a lot of the insides of cars, right?
Sure.
So imagine like a big, thick, I think there are some kind of like roll cages where it's just like there's one big spar that goes toward the back or something along those lines.
Sure.
Imagine that, but from wingtip to wingtip.
Right. And so then you get the strength of a tube with weight savings. So you get the strength of a solid spar with the weight savings of a tube, and so you can get more strength out of the same amount of material, or you can use less material and get the strength that. In other words, it's weight savings, and weight savings means I go faster. And get there sooner, so I can cap.
Exactly. And then that wasn't the only thing that was unique to this. So the other part was that this spar was also interconnected with the forward bulkhead and the engine firewall, and it was connected this via the engine bearers. So the whole thing was basically all structured together in like a central skeleton, sort of, which is very unique to any aircraft I know of from this period. Probably quite ahead of its time, to some, perhaps. I don't know I may know my aircraft, but I do not know my internal structure of aircraft that well. I'm sure somebody in the comments section might know better than I do.
It's the idea that these things were interconnected, so you can get all that structural all that structural solidity from less material is, that's what you want on an airplane. It needs to be tough, but it needs to be light, which oftentimes are competing desires.
Absolutely.
And so, unfortunately, in the game, we wouldn't be able to see that unique structure, but maybe it could be modeled in its flight characteristics.
Absolutely.
So, hey, this thing is less weight. That means it should turn a little faster and be a little faster in a straight line. So if there's less weight to turn and motivate, then that should be reflected in the game statistics. Again, we need to talk about balance, because you can't make it so super great that it overshadows the tech tree. Well, maybe you can. We've seen that
fair.
in the past,
and
with
of course,
the P61 and the XP54.
Oh yeah.
So.
And then one other note of interest with that structure is that it was so interesting to the Luftwaffe, big fact here, that they considered applying this design to both the Focke-Wulf 190D and this aircraft, the TA-152. They had designs to take this structural system and apply it to these two aircraft, which is astounding if you ask me.
No, and that's it is, considering the manufacturing capacity of Germany at the time, to have a completely different setup for internal structure. That, retooling an aircraft in the middle of production is not a minor thing. And if it's that interesting, that must have meant that it was that it must have offered significant benefits.
Absolutely. So, with that in mind, I'm trying to decide what plane would be a better simile, the ME-209A or the TA-152 if that's German. I am actually going to go with the ME-209A since it does have 20mm cannons. That might be a bad decision for a win, but we will see, since you have the safety net of an F-82E, so...
Yeah. I thought about throwing the P61 down, but I just can't.
Oh, I don't blame you. You couldn't bring yourself to fly that thing.
I mean, it's still, even with the nerf, it doesn't feel right.
What, you don't feel like being dirty?
I don't feel like being dirty. I don't. And the F-82E is a good plane, and it takes some thinking to fly it right. And it's got tier 10 guns, and so that's a bonus. It's I think an overlooked heavy fighter at tier 8. And it came out after the P-82B, and everybody was super excited about the P-82B, and here comes the F-82E, which, folks, is a copy paste, right? I mean, it's a straight copy paste with a different paint job
of a premium, no less.
And premium. It's copy paste of a premium, which is, I found it amusing at the time. It's like, hey, that's a great idea. We'll just take that model and we'll make a plane that's like the P-82B, but different. And so they do have different play styles, and they're different enough to be interesting.
It's like the Mustang 1 and the Mustang 1A.
Right. Yes. They're the same, but they're different.
And mainly in their gun armament.
Right. Personally, I prefer to run the Cannon Mustang. I'm more favorable to that one, but that's just my personal preference. I know that other pilots prefer the British machine gun Mustang, which is, I've seen pilots do well in both, and so I would never argue someone's preference there. But I prefer the Cannon one.
I mean, you're talking to the choir here on that one. I prefer the Cannon one too. So
the between the P-82B and the F-82E, It depends on how I feel. I find the F-82E to be a little more flexible in what it can do, just because of its better handling characteristics as far as air combat goes. But man, the P-82B is a bomb truck. But we are getting off track. You are flying your simile aircraft, and I'm gonna go over to the command center and see if I can't do some good work over there. We're in an all-bot match, so I can I won't have to concentrate as much, unless of course the red team got all the ace spots. You never know; it can happen.
It can happen, yes. Absolutely. Now, of course, the ME-209A is a little more of a duelist aircraft than anything else, but for those of you viewing, just imagine this with four 20mm cannons instead, just kind of punching holes in the planes a little bit. As I'm flying around, of course, the Skoda would be comparable in speed. Man, I'm a lot of the big cannon shots.
It's unfortunate because I think that the ME-209A does not get the playtime from folks that it should. In my opinion, some folks fly it. I've seen some folks fly it, but mostly when people pick a light fighter at Tier 8, they don't pick the ME-209, and I don't know why. It's a really good airplane.
I think it's mainly because people don't have a handle of the cannon on it. Like, they expect the cannon to, since it's hub mounted to, it's a freaking MK-103. It's supposed to have a lot of punch, and then most of the time when they fire at things, it doesn't punch. So you only tickle with the 20mm cannons. And there's only 2 of them, so it's not going to be as punchy as, I don't know, like an A7M at its tier.
Right. Getting used to sniper cannons is kind of a thing, and if you ping as crap, then it's even harder, right? I mean, it's and I sometimes have difficulty aiming that far out, getting the lead right, and that's the sad part about the TA-152, right? They nerfed the cannons on that thing, and so now it's almost impossible to get the sniper action out of them. And so the range, its effective range on those cannon is weak. You have like maybe 150 meters of effective cannon range, where if you get inside, it doesn't do anything, and if you're outside, it doesn't do anything. And it's sad. The plane has been wrecked.
Yeah, essentially. And I think you mentioned this before with H0 when I'm not sure if you were the one that mentioned it or if it was H0, but with how the cannons on the TA-152 were nerfed, and then not even that long later, the Horton comes in.
The command centers are under our control. Communication
right.
with the headquarters established.
And so the Horton is oh man, they're chasing me.
I see you.
Yeah, I knew I was a done deal there, just because it's I flew right in the middle of a hornet's nest while I was talking to you. That's what happens when you get into an all-bot game. It's like, and if you look at the mini-map, you'll notice that like the entire red team is headed toward the air base. So, like, okay. In any case, I mean, I'm sad about the TA-152, but let's be honest. It was kind of broken before. You could go out and you could just clean up the Tier 8 skies.
Oh, absolutely. I still remember way back in the early days of 2.0, before that thing got nerfed, I was running up the Yak line, and there's a guy, I think he was a guy in tracks in TA152, and he was just mopping the floor with everything. I was like, oh my god, I need to get that plane.
Yep. No, that's right, and that was one of the things that made me get it too. Was that I had come up against the guy that was just zapping me out of the skies at a kilometer away, and it's like, oh my gosh, seriously? I need to have this plane. I need to have it badly, and I need to have it badly enough that I'm going to suffer through the Focke-Wulf 190D some more to get those experience points. So that was the downside of that particular line, is that you had to play the 190D, and I love the Dora. Don't get me wrong, but man, all the time you spend monkeying around at tier 8 in that particular multi-roll just makes my teeth ache. I love it, and when you're fighting just tier 7s, it's actually really good. But man, you get into tier 8, pretty much everything beats you. Mm-hmm. I don't like it.
He doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it. Yeah. So yeah, flying around. The F-82E is for me is an easy button. Don't stick yourself in the middle of 5 different bot multi-rolls, and you'll be just fine. Which is what I did when I got killed. I got right in the middle of 5 multi-rolls, which, not a choice that I would have made consciously. The Skoda, I think, having 6 20mm cannon.
4.
Oh, that's right. It's 4.
Thinking of J6K, my friend, watch yourself.
I was. We've talked a lot of planes.
See, you're that excited about Japanese planes, you can't get them out of your head.
That's true. I am very excited about Japanese planes. I enjoy playing them. I really do. I just want to. I want to have another some more high tier planes in the Japanese line. In any case, the Skoda. Having a 420 loadout would put it, squarely in the middle of the other armament loadouts at tier 8 for light fighters, and that's it's nice because nobody's going to complain. Oh my gosh, it's got the cannon loadout of the XP67, and it's just gonna clean up the skies. No, it's going to be a hybrid turn energy fighter. I think your comparison with the Spitfire 14 is also potentially good because of the aforementioned tubular spar and engine mounting stuff that might make it a little more turny. Might make it a little more speedy. So
absolutely,
as a hybrid like that, it'd be more turny than, let's say, a Mustang, but less turny than, let's say, a Spitfire.
Absolutely.
So it would fit right in there, and right in where the ME209A is, because
absolutely.
it's also more can be made to be more turny than Mustang, but less, of course, than the Spitfire, and has better altitude than the Spitfire. I'm not sure about the altitude performance versus the Mustang. I think the Mustang's still the king of the tier 8 light fighters.
I mean, to be fair, the TA152 is no slouch in that department either, so it'd be similar to the TA152. Maybe a little bit different, I'd say, but yeah, the Mustang would still be on the top. Well, that and the MiGs.
I'm gonna look at it. Oh, right, the I-250, which I sold immediately after getting the MiG-9.
I don't blame you for that either. I did the same exact thing, but I've been thinking about getting that plane back at some point, maybe.
Yeah, H0 kind of made a case for it, and I'm grudgingly coming around to his idea that these lesser like planes do have a place and can be fun if you play them right. So the maximum optimal altitude for the Mustang H is 2,500 meters, and so I think that if you put the Skoda up there with the Mustang, I think that would be reasonable. Maybe a little less. Call it 2,400 meters. Let's go and see the. I'm going to go and look at the TA-152. Or do you have? No, you don't have it up.
Oh, I do. Well, I can get. So if P-51H was what did you say?
2,500 meters.
Same for the TA-152.
Okay, so yeah, putting the Skoda up there with those guys seems reasonable in my mind. What do we got for the
I-250 said 2,200. Okay, interesting.
No, that doesn't seem fair. The ME-209A is also 2,500 meters. So if you make the Skoda a little more turny and a little less altitude-y, I'm going to make up that word right there. I think it fits in and could be potentially balanced at tier 8. But yes, I would be super excited to have the Skoda in the game.
Now, see, here's the insane bit. The XF-15C and the P-80A have the same optimal altitudes as the I-250, but my P-80 has the most insane climb rate of the whole bunch at 174.
Yeah, no, you can turn the P-80 into a climbing monster, and it's an awesome vertical fighter when you do that.
So
it's everything in the vertical.
Absolutely.
And I mean that might be another way to balance the Skoda, right? Is turn it into give it some the soft stats. Fix the soft stats so that it does something really, really well. So Spitfires do pretty well in horizontal turns. Little secret, folks, they also do pretty well in vertical turns. Just have to apply the throttle carefully. But don't tell anyone. The American fighter line does really well in the vertical. You get folks into the vertical, and even a turnier plane, you can take them in the vertical because of the energy retention characteristics of the Mustang line. Okay, give the Skoda something like that. Really great yaw, let's say. So you use your rudder, and you can really, like the BF-109 line. If you use a rudder, rudder is you can turn on a dime using the rudder with the BF-109 line. So, get it something. Give it a trick. Give it a secret talent. That
Absolutely,
won't be too secret
yes.
for very long because everybody will figure it out. But, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
What you're saying, yeah. Alright, so that, folks, is the Skoda SK257 V5 and the simile plane that I flew, the ME-209A.